You really are RiderCamTV'd up.
Fully merched.
Do you like my tri-colour beautiful hat? Limited edition, by the way.
Very limited edition. Yeah.
So enough about that. Let's talk about these other things.
That old Bob.
Old Bob? No, they are great hats. I've never enjoyed wearing a hat as much as I wear that, and you could too.
Right, cool. Hats done, merch done. There's a link and stuff.
Yeah, there are. We are working with a group of organisations.
Like-minded people.
Well, group of organisations called Vision Zero, and Vision Zero Southwest is the guys that we're working with and girls, and they're all about trying to reduce road deaths by something spectacular, like 50% by 2030.
Not just motorbikes, it's all road deaths, isn't it?
But in Devon and Cornwall, last year we had over 30 or 40.
33 deaths, I think.
Yeah.
Motorbikes.
Yeah, just motorbikes on our roads. And this year, I think we've surpassed that number already.
Oh, and we're in just the September
1st, 2nd, which is awful, isn't it? You know, and the thing is, we can preach all we want, and so can the police and everybody else, about how you should ride. But people don't. People are always thinking that their riding's better than anybody else's, aren't they? None of us like to be criticised, but I make mistakes all the time. And that's why we do so much advanced riding, isn't it? And that we do so much to help people.
Everybody will benefit from a bit of extra training.
Yeah, but the trouble is, a lot of these accidents aren't just happening because of driver error. They're also happening because of rider error as well, which is really scary, isn't it?
You can blame a lot on the car drivers, but equally, we all know the crazy motorcyclist who have to shoulder some responsibility as well.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about preaching, because we wanted to talk to you about, you know, how do you prepare your stuff for riding a bike? What do you wear? And the first thing is helmet, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So,
well, socks mode first, depending how you get dressed.
Yeah.
We're not going to go. We're not doing that then. That's another video.
Yes, that's another video. So there was a really wise man called Baz Luhrmann, and he made this wonderful song. And when you listen to it, it really resonates, doesn't it? Because your body is the best instrument you'll ever own, and it really is, isn't it? If you lose your head, the rest of your body is going to be, you know, lights out. That's it, in the hole. You know, all that sort of stuff. You know, he also
Baz Luhrmann said that.
Yeah, he also said, look after your knees. You'll miss them when they're gone. You might dance your the Birdie song, Funky Chicken at your 75th wedding anniversary. Whatever you do something that scares you every day or something like that.
Oh, I've done enough of that. Yeah. I'm not doing any more of that.
But,
so,
helmets.
Did he also say llamas are bigger than frogs?
No,
and if you see one, you must shout out Qui Llama, which means watch out, there are llamas. No?
No.
That must be Monty Python then, which is my philosophical level.
I do quite like them. Is it the Judea's people front? Don't say it. Anyway, right, so, helmets. There are some people that would go out and spend an inordinate amount of money on helmets. And if you've got the money and you can justify that, then that's brilliant, isn't it? But I think in this world, in this day and age, we're very consumer driven, aren't we, by everything. And stuck in your head...
We fall for it all the time.
Yeah, but stuck in your head from the time you learn what money is and what items are, in your head, if I spend as much money as I can afford on that thing, but there's a cheaper one here, that's got to be better. And it isn't always the case, is it?
We've proved it time and time again.
Yeah. So you've got Shui and Arai and Schuberth, all those big name brands that make exceptional helmets, and they spend millions, probably billions of pounds designing their helmets to fit certain heads. But these sort of companies, like this is my Scorpion ADX2 helmet. This was about 150, 160 pounds when it was on offer and I bought it. You'll notice that there's no peak on there because now I'm riding Barney. I have to look the part and not have a peak.
What?
My peak is for my adventure riding. You know, it's not the dumb thing to ride with a peak on an RT, is it? I mean, what would Barney think?
Have you become a motorcycling snob?
Have I? I still like this helmet. So 150, 160 quid. It might be a little bit more now that it's not on offer. The ADX2, some people have had problems with the peak. I never did, but I've taken it off because Barney would not want me to ride it with a peak on it. But it's really comfy. And what I learned when I was looking at different helmets is if you love Schuberth helmets and have never had one, you need to try these helmets on in the store. Yes, you can do mail order, but you need to know how it fits because Schuberth will make a helmet that's for a certain shape head, and it might be a round head. Schuey make a helmet that is for a certain shape of head, and it might be an oval head. And it's really quite strange when you look at the difference of the heads, or our heads. They're not only bigger, smaller size or different sizes, but they're different shapes as well. And naturally, different manufacturers will make their helmets that fit a different size. And there was a really, really good video by Moto Legends talking about helmets and how to pick the right helmet. And they've got these diagrams of all these different round heads and squished heads and stuff, and how if you definitely want that helmet, you need to go and try it on because it might not be the right one for you.
And how many times have I spoken to people who've gone, they've got a helmet and they go, oh yeah, it's a bit tight, it hurts a bit, but the colour scheme's fantastic, and you go,
yeah,
more on.
Now the thing is, when we're riding, we need as much concentration on the road and what's around us as possible, don't we? So when we're riding and we're getting frozen because we're wearing rubbish kit or not good enough kit to keep us warm, and that doesn't have to be expensive, it could be merino wool underlayers, it could be anything, couldn't it? But if you're not warm when you're riding, that's all you think about. I'm cold. You lose concentration in riding. If you're wearing a helmet, so for me, Schuberth helmets will not work with my head because they're too tight on here, no matter what I get, and I get a massive headache. So I can't ride it. But if I was riding with one of those, all I would think about was that I've got a headache. So you're taking your concentration away. So these people, you know, when you go into a shop and you look for a helmet and they come over and say, would you like a hand with fitting the helmet? Take them up on it because they're not doing it just to try and sell you the most expensive helmet. I think all of the people that we know that sell things at bike shops that we go to don't want to sell you something that in a week's time you're going to bring back that's going to be uncomfortable. They want you to wear a helmet that's comfortable, that actually fits you and gives you the best protection. So Schuey and Arai, Schuberth, they got really good safety protection under Sharp, haven't they?
Yeah.
But helmets like this and the ADX1 and the K-Berg sometimes have got a better safety rating in those tests than some of those really expensive helmets.
I mean, the Sharp test has its inadequacies, you know, we all know that because nothing can be tested 100%. So it gives you a ballpark or a level playing field where you're saying the helmets have all been tested to this standard. Yeah. Yes, they may exceed it. If they go below it, then they don't get the rating. But, you know, if you've got a Sharp rated helmet and it's the ADX2 perhaps, and it's a Schuberth, the only thing that's different about them, in as much as the Sharp test, is the fact that, you know, the cosmetics of it are different. They pass the same test.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to, do I want to spend 600 or 700 quid, or do I want to spend 150 quid?
Yeah.
And if you're a 16-year-old kid just starting off riding on a bike, on a moped or something like that,
you bounce well.
Sorry?
Nothing. No.
Dance well.
Bounce well.
Bounce well.
Know, if I hit the ground now for weeks and weeks, I'd be like, that really hurts. 16-year-old, they'll have the same.
I wonder where that conversation was going then.
They'll have the same.
Bouncy castle in the garden.
They'll have the same sort of accident, but they'll get up and they'll go, "Oh, that's okay," and their body recovers quicker, doesn't it?
But they might not be able to afford a helmet of 500 or 600 quid. So that's the point.
Yeah. Now you don't have to spend the world on a helmet that actually fits you. What you need to do is work out which sort of helmet you want, so you can have full face, a flip up, one with a peak, one without the chin bar, you know, there's so many different styles on there, but you need to work out which one you want and then go and try lots of them on and take the information from the people in the shop and how they're trying to help you fit it. But on some of the cheaper make helmets, the reason that they can be cheaper is because the size of the helmet is always the same. Mm-hmm. So you might find that on a cheaper helmet, not that there's anything wrong with it, but the helmet is the same size.
Shell.
Yeah, the shell is whether it's small, medium, large, extra large, they're all the same shell. And what they do is they fill it.
With gloves.
Yeah, with gloves. They fill it with all of the padding to make it fit your head. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Shoei, Arai, to some extent these as well.
BMW helmets.
BMW helmets.
Used to be made by Schubert, I think.
I think so. But they actually make their shells to the shell of it to that size. And then the stuff inside, all this padding that you can take out, the ADX2 and Scorpion, they provide one set of innards, but I know with the Shoeis, I think with the Schubert, I think they've gone over the top. You can have a myriad, a plethora, lots of, different size cheek pads, top pads, all that sort of stuff to make them fit even better. But that's quite complicated to get your head around, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But that's how they get around having a cheaper helmet to make it for all different sizes, because actually it's one size and what is in there brings it closer to your head and makes it fit. Mm-hmm. But how do you fit a helmet? Do you just go into a shop and just stick it on and go, yeah, that's fine?
Well, there's lots of things to take into account. Like you said, flip top, full face, all the rest of it. And it's about what kind of riding you're doing. And we know a guy who had bought himself a helmet that had a clear visor that he couldn't lift up and down. Do you remember?
I don't know.
On a tour, his face was sunburnt because it wasn't tinted.
Yeah.
It was a white, clear helmet, and it's just... But it matched the bike he was riding, and clearly he needed to buy a helmet where he could at least, have a lifted up or a sun, a tinted one of some sort. But, so that was the wrong helmet for him. Then I've seen people who will only ever buy a full face helmet because they say a full face helmet is safer. It's their perception. If it's got a rating and it's been tested for whatever that thing is. But again, full flip top helmets are great if you go into a petrol station. You don't have to flick it up. You don't have to take your helmet off. You have that whole controversy about whether you should take your helmet off and all the rest of it. That mitigates it. So buy a helmet that you fits your type of riding and your lifestyle. Is that the right word?
Yeah, and more importantly, fits the shape and size of your head.
Exactly. But the things to consider are...
So you've got the first thing you should consider is how it does up, because there are two different sorts. There's a D-ring.
And even that's controversial.
Yeah, I mean, people love the D-ring. I don't like the D-ring because you're faffing about, although the D-ring is much more secure. So if you are in an accident, you could argue that something could hit this ratchet system and open it. But I'd rather somebody got it off quick if they needed to, if I really needed that emergency help, than be faffing with a clip, that's a D-clip. But lots of people like the D-clip, and I think a lot of the more expensive helmets, or some of them, actually come with the D-rings rather than the ratchets.
Yep.
So, what's it going to be like having a ratchet? Well, I find it really easy to have a ratchet, but I think the first thing you've got to do is put the helmet on, haven't you? And
you've got to fit the ratchet so it fits your head properly. It's no good having a helmet that pops off when you have an accident. Yeah. Because you haven't actually... What are you going to do with that?
Put it on.
Oh, really?
So when you put your helmet on, it should be really quite snug, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Now, when you buy a new helmet, it might feel really snug. And in that case, it might be that you've got too small a helmet, mightn't it? But there is some give in there. You're going to sweat, you're going to get warm. I would say that if you're going to get a helmet, buy the helmet that fits you in the shop. But in the shop is a really strange feeling, isn't it? Because when you're in the shop, you're not going to be at different temperatures. You're under a bit of pressure because you want something to buy. You want to please the people that are trying to help you fit it. You want to get the right things. There's a lot of things going on, isn't there? So when you buy your helmet, go home, sit and watch TV in it for an hour.
You buy shoes and your mum, you say, go walk up and down. And you walk up and down and your toes like that, go, yeah, they're great.
Because if you're watching TV for about an hour or so, that's kind of when a niggling pain starts to become a really big pain on a bike, isn't it? So if you're starting to get a headache in about an hour and 10, 15 minutes, it's not the helmet for you, is it?
No.
Or it's not the right size.
People will laugh at us saying that. Wear it. But you should be doing it. It's not good putting it on you.
Well, the thing is, we go on tours and I'll be on the bike from 8:30 in the morning. Yes, we stop for breakfast, for mid-morning coffee, lunch, coffee, and then we get to the hotel. But I could be in this for 5-6 hours of a day.
Or longer.
or longer. What's
yeah.
going to happen if I've got a thumping headache all the way through? I'm going to kill myself, aren't I? So, how to make sure it works? And it's strapped right up. So you shouldn't have much play in there, should you?
No.
This one's a ratchet, and it's really easy because it's got a little cord there, and it just comes apart. I really like them. And you know that it's ratcheted because you can hear that fart noise. So it's really nice, really comfy, and the helmet doesn't move. And they say that you should have a bit of movement in there, but it shouldn't roll over your helmet, should it?
No.
And I think one of the tests you can do is if you put your hands interlock like that and push it forward, you should be able to get a finger or half a finger or so up there. And that's showing that actually you've got a bit of movement in the helmet and it's not pressing too much on your head. Some people say that you should move it around, and if you can basically move your head and stay in one place, it's going to be too big. Too big.
Small, yeah.
But if you're buying one of these...
Just explain that again. So if you can hold the helmet and turn your head around.
Yeah, it's way too big.
It's way too big. But I know somebody who went on tour, borrowed a helmet off somebody and could actually turn the face.
Yeah.
And it was like, you couldn't afford to buy a helmet.
But conversely, if you try a helmet on that's too small and you ram your head into it, whatever helmet it is, and you think, God, that looks good, it doesn't matter what it looks like because you can't see it when you're riding. Who cares? Because
you've got to understand that if your helmet is too small, you can't say, oh, it's going to wear out and get baggy. Or it doesn't. Takes a long time.
Yeah.
I've got helmets that I've had for sort of 3 years. I typically change them every 2 to 3 years because I do so many miles of them and they stink. I've got no hair.
All he's got to do is wash the linings. But obviously
I do that, but that's something you need to consider. It will expand, or the foam will contract, but it won't do that much.
No.
And also, when you go in to have because I haven't got hair, I always wear a balaclava underneath. I did try to grow my hair to scare my grandkids, and it did. But I suddenly found that my helmet didn't fit.
Mm. And it's really weird because they have a go at me because I have my hair cut every other week. And I do it because I'm riding a bike. And if I go, now, I couldn't get in last week because we had to change plans. I'm having my hair cut before I go away. I know, I plan my life with haircuts, but because I'm a rider and ride so many miles, you're 100% right. If you leave your hair grow longer and longer and longer, where's that all go? It still takes up density, doesn't it? It still takes up space. But if you're going to try on one of these open face helmets, don't walk around the shop like this. Or sit and watch TV like this. Is this how you're going to ride in the helmet all the time? Do it up. Because when you do it up, it brings the helmet in a little bit more. So it's a little bit tighter, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So if I push on the back, I've still got that it's about half a finger, 3/4 of a width of a finger. And it's just comfortable. And I've ridden in 37, 38 degrees in this, been sweating other parts of my body off. And this has still been comfortable, but equally I've been cold where you would contract a little bit, couldn't you? Because you expand in the heat. And it's still been comfortable and it's not been too big or too small.
Yeah.
So you need to get used to how it feels.
Absolutely.
As you're
and if you normally wear a hoodie, a buff or something over the top, or a balaclava, you have to try your helmet on with that helm. It's still good doing that.
You could have a RiderCamTV buff, couldn't you?
You could do, which look absolutely fantastic.
And they're really thin as well.
Oh, there you go.
Fit into most helmets. Anyway, so having the right helmet for you is one of the most important things, because here in the UK, that's the only thing you have to wear. You could ride naked on your bike. There would be other offences. But you could ride naked on your bike and have a helmet, and there is nothing anybody can do about you not wearing safety equipment.
So one thing
which is odd, isn't it?
Because it is a piece of safety equipment. Yeah. And I must admit that I find it sometimes a bit strange when this ratchet is black.
Yeah, because being red, it's great because people's eyes are drawn to it, aren't they? It's the button red or
that's black as well.
Yes, it's just
really odd. I know somebody who painted a red one out to make it black. And I think, well, that shows somebody how... Anyway, so we digress there. But quite an important thing, it's a very important piece of safety equipment. If you were to fall off, what's the first thing people say to you? Don't take your helmet off! All right, well... Yeah. So if you do bike safe courses and all those other courses, they'll show you how to remove a helmet properly. Yeah. And so these pads, cheek pads here, on a lot of new helmets now, are easily removable. So when the helmet does come off,
there's less
movement of your
face,
head, you know, and all that kind of. That's something to consider when you're looking at, you know, a helmet. And also, it's important to buy a helmet that has come from a reputable source.
Yeah, 100%.
If you buy one on eBay, you have no guarantee that that helmet is what it says it is. It might look the same, might have all the same details on it, but it might be a hooky helmet.
Well, and the thing is, you can buy things on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that quite local. You can go and see the people that are selling it. So you can get a feel for what sort of people they are. You can touch it, you can move it around, because you haven't got to buy a brand new helmet. There's nothing wrong with buying a second-hand helmet. The only thing about buying a second-hand helmet is you don't know the history of that helmet. So they can say to you, it's never been dropped, but they might have dropped it that morning, mightn't they? You're never going to know. So it's your head. You need to buy something that is really good and that you can trust. But I noticed on Facebook Marketplace the other day, for something like 20 quid, there was a helmet on there that somebody had hand painted. So, you know, there are really bad examples of stuff you can get, and there are really good examples. And I know that things like companies like Nolan, there are other companies with obscure names that we've not heard of that are being stocked by shops up and down the country that are kosher helmets. The one thing that you don't want to get hold of is a counterfeit helmet.
Yeah,
because they will be out there. I'm told by Trading Standards, because I spoke to them, there isn't an issue with counterfeit helmets at the moment that they know of, but there's definitely counterfeit helmets out there, aren't there?
Oh, without a doubt.
Definitely.
So much so that Trading Standards are now going to a lot of bike shows.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Right, so, you know, I'm not saying they're looking for helmets, but they're looking for other safety equipment, boots, jackets, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it happens. It definitely happens. They're just not aware of it at the moment.
And the other thing to keep in mind with the helmet is, how does it all work? So yes, right, you're at the stage now that the shop assistant, whoever that might be, has helped you get the right helmet for your head. Has it got all the stuff that you want on the helmet? Is it too heavy? Is it too light? Some are heavier because they're heavier, some are lighter because of the materials that you use, and the expense starts going up. Has it got everything you need? So has it got a sun visor? Is that something that you want? If you wear glasses, can you get your glasses on? Try it in the shop. Don't be afraid to be look silly.
Some helmets now
Try your glasses.
make recesses now where you can put your glasses in, which are great.
Yeah.
Some helmets do reactor-like visors, which are fantastic. But if you go into a tunnel, you've got to lift that up, because there's a time delay. It's not instant. About 45 seconds on a pair of glasses, isn't it, for it to change colour? So you've got to be aware of things like that. Does it have a pin lock?
Yeah, pin locks are brilliant. I don't know whether you've seen them, but pin locks are amazing. It's like
double glazing inside your helmet, but it stops your helmet fogging up. But the amount of times I've heard from people, and we did a video on it years ago about, you know, fitting the pin lock correctly, because they go, oh yeah, my pin lock always fogs up. Well, that's because it's not set up properly. They're really easy to do. Yeah. It's just a case of looking at it and working out how it's done. Some are fitted when you buy them, some you have to fit yourself. It's not hard. And
there are different versions of pin locks, so there are different makes, but I think pin lock are the pinnacle of pin locks, because theirs have got a silicone seal around it, so it's like really pliable, and it will ply to the make, and it's specific to the helmet, so you can't go and get a Shui pin lock and fit it in here. It has to be specific to the helmet. But, you know, little things like when you've got it shut, can you see everything? Is it out here, and does it make you feel really enclosed? Because if it does, you're going to be uncomfortable when you ride. Can you see everything? Can you move?
Well, I've found with the ADX helmet that they got a really wide, almost like a motocross helmet.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, literally, right past both eye sockets.
And I've just gone to the next Villa-Yord helmet, which is more, it's a flip top, but it's more of a road type helmet. So the aperture we can see out is a little bit more restrictive. It just means you have to turn your head more, but it took me a few days of riding to get used to it.
You know, and you're going to have to get used to where the little tabs are to open the visor and stuff. But does the visor work easily enough for you when you're riding the bike? Is it really tough? Is it something that you want to be messing about with? You know, how do you open it? All these things I think you need to take into account, as well as how many people ride with a Bluetooth headset or DMC headset or some sort of communication device. Is it going to fit the communication device that you've bought? Or, like this one, there's a little triangle there somewhere. Scorpion make their own. Shoei make
A lot
their
of
own.
companies are doing that
Yeah.
now.
Do you want to buy their stuff at the same time and fit it? Has it got enough recess in there for the speakers? Is there enough place to put your microphone and stuff? So I think gone are the days, I've got to take it off, it's too hot in here.
Excuse me.
I think gone are the days where we would go to the shop and go, that's the helmet, and then just put up with how it feels. There's so many different helmets out there that I think going in and making a decision about what you want to buy, you want it, do you?
Yeah.
What you
Why are
want
you
to
talking?
buy, why you want to buy it, but then don't see past the practicalities of the helmet that you like and that you've dreamt over for so long might actually be the worst helmet for you, because when you're riding, having that concentration is the most important thing.
So, something we haven't spoken about is things like
Venting.
this.
Oh yeah.
Stickers, emergency stickers that we've got 2 different types on the helmet here. That's just a generic one you can buy off.
It's nice, from Vital ID.
Is it?
Yeah, specific
Okay,
company.
you can buy well, they make them, but inside you write down your bits and pieces. You can have them on a hard helmet for a building site, anything like that. But
Yeah.
you know, this is a motorbike one. On the other one, we've got Tagistar,
Yeah.
which you register, and so somebody can read that QR code and get all your details on it. You know, your next of kin, that kind of stuff, which is important. But something this helmet hasn't got, and if you go to France, the amount of times I hear people say, "Oh, I've got to put stickers on my helmet." Well, let's talk about the reason why you have to put reflective stickers on your helmet. You have to have 4 stickers on the sides and on the rear. And the reason for that is, if you come off your motorbike, think about what happens when you come off it. If you're going at a speed on a bend, you may go over a hedge, you know, something like that. Okay, so the reason they want you to put stickers on them to see it is if, for example, at night, they've got the bike by the side of the road, but they've got no motorcyclist, looking over a hedge with a torch will shine up the reflective bits on your helmets. And that's purely come as a result of having to look for motorcyclists that have had that kind of accident. So while it seems pretty stupid, I've got stickers on my helmet and everything, it's a very good safety idea.
But the other thing is, specifically with France, is the amount of accidents that were happening where bikers were being T-boned.
Yeah.
Because their bike was black, their kit was black, their helmet was black, and I think some of the thought, above what you know, as well as what you said, is having reflective stickers on the side. It's just that second of wow, there's a biker there, stop, and perhaps they don't.
It's not an issue. It's not an issue, and I'm glad that they enforce that in France. You know, because
and they cost pence.
oh, it's ridiculous. You can buy them from eBay, but you know, it's a vital thing.
Yeah.
And if it saves your life, it's really important. So.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully that's given you a few things to think about when you go to look at getting a different helmet, but also giving you some things to challenge yourself about. I want that Shoei that's just come out. It's £9,000 or whatever it might be. Actually, that might not be the best helmet for me as a person because of the size and the shape of my head. It might not have all the features I've got, but I really want it. But until you try it, and the helmet is a very subjective thing, isn't it? So we can say to you, this helmet fits you and you and you, but not you. It's a subjective thing about how you feel, but it's not a 2-minute purchase. Off the shelf, yes, that's the one I want. Unless, of course, you've always ridden with Shoei and they fit you like a glove and you love them. But there are other brands out there, if you don't want to spend a huge amount of money, that's still going to protect you in just the same way.
Exactly. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Good.
And I like my Scorpion ADX2. It's one of the most comfortable helmets that I've had. And of course, the more expensive you get, the tighter they get to you because they put all these chin things in. So the quieter it gets, you know, the less wind noise you get. And that's a factor as well, you know. Wear earplugs. Yeah. You'll miss your ears when they're gone.
Because these are a little bit noisy because they're a flip front.
Say that quickly after a couple of pints.
I can't without offending somebody.
But yeah, so go out, have a look at the helmet that you want. Leave some comments about how you choose your helmet, how you pick your helmet. But hopefully it's given you an idea of how much importance you should put on choosing a helmet. It shouldn't be a flippant purchase on the internet or in the shop. You should really do your homework because you only get one of these. And like we said earlier on, if that's not there, it's lights out, everything's dark and you're in a hole.
Baz Luhrmann said that.
Well, he didn't quite say it like that. Yeah, that's what happens, isn't it? If you don't look after this, nothing else matters, does it?
No.
Really doesn't. So, yeah. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that sort of stuff if you like the video. If you love the video, then send us some love.
Send us some love.